Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Poe. I am the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library. I am here with Leah from the Prospect Library to tell us about a teen program. I was going to say we don't get a lot of those, but actually we do. A teen program that was run through the summer that mixed a teen advisory board and teen volunteer hours in a community garden, which is incredibly timely because I'm thinking about next year's summer reading theme of read, renew, repeat, and conservation information. So I've already read your report. I think this is a great program. So Leah, just take it away and give us the whole backstory.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. So, start at the beginning. I have a personal interest in gardening. Before I came to the library world, I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and, loved to grow my own food with my kids and loved to learn more about gardening. I always gardened with my mom growing up. It was just really good memories. And then, I came into my librarian position and I am the assistant director and youth services librarian here in Prospect. And I love my job. I love that I get to work all summer, but it meant that I had less time for my garden at home. So that was, my first summer here was 2021. And, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to have as big of a garden. And that was a problem I was trying to solve. And additionally, at work here, we were trying to get teens, preteens and teens back in the library after COVID. We had a really strong teen advisory board and teen volunteering program before the pandemic. And then, everyone went away. We didn't have the volunteer opportunities. We were closed for an entire year to the public. So, we just didn't have that participation. And in trying to ramp that up again, I was new to this. I was trying to find volunteer opportunities. You can only do so much shelf reading. Uh, some kids really like to work with the younger kids, and some kids really don't. So I was trying to find something that they could do as a group, but that they didn't have to do either, shelf reading or being with the little kids. So, I saw this summer enrichment grant pop up, and it was a very snowy day when I saw it, and I was thinking, oh, what could we do? And the gardening just popped into my mind. It was something that I had previously just briefly talked to the staff about because we did in 2021, right when we started a seed library here. So that has been wonderful. The patrons love it. Some people do it as families, some people do it just, as single adults. We've done a lot related to that, including making seed bombs, and we did a worm composting workshop where we all took home a thing of worm compost. It was awesome. I had to learn how to worm compost because of course, I didn't hire anybody. I just taught it. So I still have worms in my basement. That was 2 years ago. So it has been one of my favorite things we've ever done here. But so I wrote this grant, which was to create a community garden here at the library that my teen volunteers could participate in and learn more about, gardening, like sustainable food, what works well together, just all of it. And I just thought that would be great. Also, publicity for the library. We have a beautiful outdoor space here, and there's a main road where people drive by. So I was thinking, like, oh, they'll be able to see our community garden. And so I applied for it. I got it. I was so psyched. And then I told the board, who were not as psyched about my idea of like visible fencing in the beautiful, space that we had outside. So we came to a agreement, we worked together to come to an agreement that we would do raised beds instead. Which was great because it actually freed up some of the grant money to do more programming for teens and the wider community. So we found these amazing raised beds that were actually on sale when we found them. And so we got them. I believe they're from Home Depot. It doesn't matter, but they're these awesome. Yes, great. Because you just checked the receipt. There are these awesome raised beds that the kids were actually able to construct on their own. So they kind of like popped together, and then they had these like gates around the top that we could zip up like a greenhouse in the beginning. So we bought a bunch of those, and I put out the call to my kids who had been interested in volunteering. And I got 12 kids who did the entire program, start to finish. I initially, we started way back in the spring. I started with a survey about what they knew about gardening, how confident they were, as well as what they wanted to do in the garden, because I figured not all of them would want to be out there like sweating and watering things. But it actually turned out I was wrong about that. And most of them, I believe all of them did that at some point. And then I asked about how many vegetables they ate at home, to see if this, improved them eating vegetables. So they started with planting seeds. We did indoor seeds. Which was great. Some of them had done it before and some of them never had. We were a little too eager with some of them and got started a little too early. But we had quite a few that did make it. And we had those displayed in the library for a while, so it got interest in our seed library. The patrons loved coming in and seeing our display where they were growing every day. The kids loved checking on them. And then we planted them outside. We set up the beds, and we initially had the greenhouse zipper because it was still, the nights were still cold. Thankfully, I think we don't have to worry about like deer and stuff with those. That was part of the reason the raised beds were so great. So we set all that up, and then we did several programs over the summer. We did one which was pollinators, which was bees, which was amazing. It was, pretty well attended by the community in general, because it's something that not a lot of people know about home beekeeping. And it was really cool to learn about that. I think the kids were a little surprised, I think, at how intense it is to keep a hive alive. And it's not just like walk out and get the honey. And, so we learned a lot through that. That was our first program, I believe, that we did. And then we did a few others over the course of the summer. One was a chopped cell competition for the teenagers, which I was like, oh, they're going to make salads. Like, okay. Like, I mean, I didn't say that to them, of course. I was excited about it, but I didn't think that a bunch of teenagers would come in and like make a delicious salad and want to eat it, but they did. They loved it. I had my own kid who was 11 and like has never eaten a pepper in his life, was here, chopping up carrots and eating them. So that was great because they use the people from Food Explorers used stuff that we were using in the garden. We also did a Seeds Please, which attracted some younger kids too. And that was White Memorial, they were awesome. And they showed the kids, like the different ways that seeds travel and how it's more than just, putting a seed in dirt. It's like seeds working together, and which plants can work with other plants, which was stuff I didn't know, even from years of gardening at home. So that was very interesting, how you can plant year after year, which was interesting. That's something that we want this to be an ongoing thing. So that was great. And then finally we had Mark from Tri Gable Lea, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but something like that, farm. And he did a seed starting workshop where we all had containers and we brought them home. I actually still have mine on my porch. It froze last night, unfortunately. I was this close to having some flowers blooming, but anyway, that was wonderful as well. He did different types of soil, different types of compost. So we learned a lot and got to experiment, stick our hands in the dirt and all that. So those were our 4 programs. And during that, throughout the whole 8-week session of the summer, the kids would come in once a week and spend an hour volunteering, whether that was weeding in the beds. Finally, towards the end, we harvested a little bit. They actually all kept journals as well, where they made notes every week on how the plants looked, what they did. They inventoried our seeds for us. It was really their program. They took it over and they ran it. And we did have a meeting towards the end or after it ended about what we're going to do next year. And some of it, we did learn a lot. We learned that you can't plant so many plants close together because you will not get the amount of vegetables that you think you're going to get. Less is more in this case. So we're hoping that next year we can continue with this. We can, have even more of those awesome programs. I'm really hoping that eventually we can talk to the board about maybe finding a spot to have a more permanent type of garden. But you know what? For now, the raised beds are wonderful and beautiful, and they store well. They're outside. And it was a really great experience. And the kids were eating slightly more vegetables towards the end. So I don't know if that was just to make me happy. I ended up having great relationship with all of them. So maybe a little bit of bias there, but it was a really, really wonderful experience. I loved that I had no excuse to be like, I got to be outside all the time at work, which was one of my goals in life. I love the library and I love being outside. So it was amazing. I am so, so grateful that we got to participate in that program this summer.
I love everything that you just said. And as someone who also thinks a lot, I live in an apartment fully carpeted with no balcony. So most of my plants are indoor plants. And I do a hydroponics kind of situation to do some vegetables and things like that. But hearing about your worm compost program, if you do that again, I really need an invite.
I will send it to you.
I really want to learn a lot. Thank you so much. So I'm trying to think. And so, I think I remember reading in your report that these are teens who needed that this was a way that you managed your volunteers, right? Because I know that myself included, sometimes because the high school would require 40 hours or whatever it was of volunteer time, it could be really hard to find something for all of those kids to do. As you said, you can only do so much shelf reading. You can only do so much dusting. And I feel weird asking a kid to dust anyway. So did you find that this made the management of volunteers having this one big project a little easier than maybe it was pre the teens leaving, or sort of pre-COVID, when maybe there wasn't as much for them to do around the library?
Absolutely. That was a huge part of why I wanted to do it, because I knew that the summer prior I had trouble managing which kids were okay helping with a program and how to fit them all in. This way, I had them fill out when their availability was, and I gave them a block of time each week and said, you can come for an hour during this time. You can come with your partner, because I partnered them all. And I let them choose their partners if they wanted to, but some of them just, let me partner them. And I said, you can come with your partner if you want to, or you can come individually, just come in this chunk of time. And it made it so much easier. If I was in a program, they knew, okay, go sign in, go grab my journal, make some notes. They knew that they had that hour. And it is a lot of kids that either, our middle school is right across the street, so we get a lot of volunteers who are National Junior Honor Society. Our high school is about 25 minutes away. We're regional, so we get less of the high schoolers who need their 40 hours to graduate, but we do get them as well. So I had to shift my thinking about my volunteers. I think when I started this, I was like, okay, how can volunteers help me? But volunteering is providing the opportunity for kids to volunteer as part of my service to the community as a librarian. I need to offer that to them rather than look at how they can help me. They need to learn these skills.
Yeah.
So this was an awesome opportunity because they learned so many skills, I think, and I think they had a great time, So yeah, and some of them are the ones that are going into high school have already done so many of their hours now,
Yeah. That's also really, just to sort of put a beat on that, that's a really fantastic way to think about volunteering, because so often it can either be frustrating, oh, I bet the volunteers are going to start to show up towards the end of the school years when a senior walks in and needs 40 hours in 2 weeks and you're like, kid, I can't help you. So that's sort of, but to think about it as your contribution to your community is amazing. And also providing an opportunity for someone to learn about something that, and maybe grow a hobby that they just was never sort of in the orbit, right? I didn't do any much gardening with my family. I think my dad tried to start some seeds I don't think they ever made it outside. But just sort of deeply, I really don't. I think we did the seed starter on the dining room table, and I'm pretty sure they all died on the dining room table.
Right.
So that's just a really lovely way to think about this. And now, did you coordinate all of this on your own? So with regards to kind of the heft of we've got a lot of people who are like, oh, my library is not big enough to do that. Did you do all this on your own while assistant directing and department heading at the same time?
Yeah, so our library is small. We have 7 staff. 2 of us are full-time. The community is 9,000 people. So I did do all of it on my own. However, That's like an asterisk. I
Yes.
have amazing coworkers who will talk everything through with me,
Yes.
and they talked everything through with me. So I implement, but like I have a lot of, some of them have been in this community for 20 plus years, and they know, what's going to work here and what's not. That is like invaluable.
Yes, I also have a coworker that I talk everything through, who may or may not be recording this right now. Um, that's so awesome. Yes, partners. Partners is what we call it, partnership, and it within your institution and also outside of it. So did you? So I remember reading your report, and you said that there wasn't a whole lot of harvest, but there are a lot of things that can be harvested in the fall. So is this something that y'all think you're going to continue? People put their gardens to rest. I know. I think this was our first big frost that we had this morning
Yeah.
on November
Yeah.
2nd. It's actually kind of surprising because last November
I
it
know.
was hot all month.
Right. Right.
So the weather's weird. New England's weird. But do you think that this is something, just sort of the maintenance, learning to put the garden to bed, and some of the fall things that can be planted and harvested? Like I think squash goes in. No, maybe I'm wrong. Does
No, you're
squash
right.
go into the fall?
Squash,
Right, I thought so.
pumpkins.
You probably
Yeah.
didn't do potatoes, but like potatoes go into the fall.
Right.
I watch a lot of homesteading YouTube videos. So there's definitely the potential to kind of keep this going. Do you think that's something you're
Right.
going to do until winter kind of kills everything?
So not this year. This year
Fair.
we ended it. We did it like as an 8-week program, and that was it. In the future, I would love to do, if I can get it to where it's in the ground and not in raised beds, or like both, some
Yeah.
herbs in raised beds and some stuff in the ground. I would love to have an ongoing,
Mhm.
like you said, put it to bed, have the like leaf cover, all of that stuff. I would absolutely love to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, it sounded like your teens were really excited and looking forward to continuing this program. And I got to tell you, next year's summer reading theme of conservation, like
I
depending on
know,
what
it's
you choose to
perfect.
use, I mean, it's absolutely built into there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it sounds great. If you do it next year, I would like to come.
Okay.
I'm that person who watches like a year of beekeeping, like squished into like an hour-long YouTube video. I'll sit and watch it
Yes.
with joy and wonder. So it sounds great.
Absolutely. Okay. Great. I'll
Yay.
definitely let you know when we do worm composting again. Yeah.
I'm so nervous about it, but I'm thinking, I'm like, maybe I could do this in my fully carpeted
can
apartment. I could put the worms in
You
the
totally
closet.
can. Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I thought. I need someone to hold my hand through it because I'm really panicking here.
You can do it.
That's awesome. This is a truly unique teen program, I think. I don't know how often I see programs set up like this, with some really awesome connected learning aspects, and the fact that you sort of helped set the teens up and guide them, but then really let them exist and grow throughout the 8 weeks on their own, I think is really lovely. So I'm glad you started this, and I can't wait to see how it grows.
Awesome. Yay, how it grows.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the puns. You're gonna need t-shirts next year. I think that's also
Yes,
true.
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Leah.
Thanks, Kim. I'm glad we got to talk.
I know, me too. I don't think we've ever met in person, so this is great. Or like in even
Yeah.
computer, so this is great.
Right. Awesome. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.